Hi, folks. Just before we begin our Best of 2021 episode of FNS Wrestling Podcast, I just wanted to send a quick, sincere thank you to anyone who has taken any time out of 2021 to listen to myself and my son talk about the world of wrestling. We started this as a hobby as the pandemic swept the world and we were sort of locked down at home looking for something to do. Neither of us have any experience in broadcasting, podcasting, doing any sort of recording of any kind at all, but we endeavored to do this because these are conversations that we sort of had anyways, and we decided to just come down here and talk about them in the basement and see if we could figure out this whole producing a podcast thing together. It continues to be one of the highlights of my week, and it's just a great way to spend a great deal of time with my teenage son. Thank you to anybody who's given us any time this year. We really do appreciate it. We'd love to hear from any of you. We hope that you enjoyed this special bonus episode where we talk about what we thought was all of the best things from the year 2021 in the world of professional wrestling. So Happy New Year to everybody, and may everybody's 2022 be significantly better than 2021. Hi everybody, welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, back in the basement with my co-host and teenage son, Jackson, who's choking on a bubble tea.
We're off to a good start, but yeah, it went down the wrong tube, as they say.
Your second bubble tea today.
Yeah, second of the same bubble tea.
As we get ready to celebrate New Year's.
Yep, I don't know when anyone's hearing this, but we are recording on New Year's Eve, day before we are get to record our usual podcast. So it's kind of funny.
So this is our second annual Best of Wrestling, I guess, episode.
Yeah, year-end awards.
Yep.
Best of.
With a slight change this year because we are, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different categories similar to last year. If you heard us.
Do you think we should ever come up with like a name for them? Like, you know how like there's like the Dundies and
no,
and no, just
I don't know.
Year-end awards. Not
Maybe
like
at some point.
The Effies or something.
The Effies, yeah, that sounds amazing.
I don't know.
Finesses.
Yeah.
Finesses.
The finesses?
And FNS something or other. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it'd be funny at some point.
But we've got a whole bunch of categories we're going to talk about our best of. It specifically a lot of AEW, obviously. And then
we did make a change because last year we covered a lot of AEW. It was just AEW and NXT, and then we would group them for overall categories. But so for how this will work is, so instead of NXT, we're going to cover all WWE because we don't watch the shows really anymore. We checked in a bit this year, but we did consistently watch all of the pay-per-views.
Right.
Day one is tomorrow, so that's
for
fun.
A lot of the categories, we're going to do an AEW best of WWE, and then a best.
We'll combine those like overall, which will probably just be AEW, not biased. And then I have also said any of like the general overall categories. For example, like, let's say best on the mic, if there was someone who you wanted to nominate from, say, like, Impact or
I watched Impact, ROH.
Right, like, then you can throw them in for the overall categories. Yep. We'll specify if it's from a specific place.
I have a feeling that the best of episode is going to be heavy on one company when it comes to overall stuff, and that the worst of is going to be kind of the opposite of that.
Unless when you have to focus on a specific place, right? Because then you're kind of, but yes, worst of will be on the way.
It was a little disappointing to think about how NXT's really not in the running for best of much this year, right? Just because last year it was normal NXT and there was lots of cool stuff, and this year the last whatever.
I would say they had a generally good year because for most of the year, but they did pretty well.
2.0 didn't start till later,
September, I think. So that's like a quarter of the year,
and then it went off a cliff for 25% of the year.
Yep.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, just over, I think maybe.
So I don't know. We were supposed to have a New Year's Eve party down the street with a bunch of friends, but cases are crazy in Ontario. School's been pushed back for you for 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of going back on the 3rd, it's looking like the 5th so far, unless they bump it back from there. Who knows?
Which,
but we'll
I
see.
don't know. They tend to do that because remember, the way the first the first time they sent us home
was a week after March break, right?
Right. They are like, I think they extended March break by like 1 or 2 weeks, and then they just said
which our American friends call spring break, I believe.
Yes.
I don't even know if it's
that's
in March.
How it starts, right? Like they postpone a bit, and then it's just like full send. We're done.
Yeah, we'll see.
So that's what I'm anticipating, to be honest.
Back to online, you think? Cases are worse than ever, but I don't think they want to close schools. We'll see, but I think that's like a last resort.
I obviously I feel like in school is better, but I really do not care.
You didn't know.
Which one we do. I'm almost want to do online because like it feels like that's where we're going, and then also I can just watch as many movies as possible.
And at least we've done it before, so it's a little bit less unknown this time around. But
in May, there's going to be the Doctor Strange movie, which is Multiverse of Madness, so there's supposed to be like a crap ton of cameos and whatnot.
Right.
So I've vowed like my New Year's resolution will be to watch every Marvel movie, every live action Marvel movie ever. Like
it's a great goal.
Pretty much,
Super
yeah.
Proud
and
of you.
I will definitely do it if it's online, so then I can watch like 3 movies a day.
Yes, of course, because that's good. That's good strategy for learning.
It is.
It did work for you in grade 8. So
I got honor roll last year.
You did.
So,
that is true. What can I say, right?
Right. We're getting a little off topic, so let's get started.
So should we get into talking about what we consider from this world of wrestling in 2021, what we would like to call the best of? So thanks to you, this is all ready to go, right? Because I struggle remembering a lot of these things. Yeah. So you did like 90% of the legwork on preparing this. So I think we'll let you do the categories and the nominees, and I'll sit back, drink coffee, and give my opinion when the time comes. So go ahead. What are we starting with?
Pay-per-view or TV special of the year.
All right, so we are going to start with our pay-per-view / TV special of the year. I threw in TV special just because AEW mostly relies on those, so those are going to be considered as well. Basically, just like I would say, special event of the year.
We basically, because we both wanted to pick Halloween Havoc, right? So we had to find a way to manipulate the system to get
Actually, NXT. Yeah. I actually was pretty close to picking War Games.
Of course you were.
Right.
Anything NXT 2.0 right now. Wait, that's the next episode, I have a feeling.
Right.
There'll be a bunch of nominees on there.
Sure. Yes. I am ready to just unleash on that crap.
But we're going to focus on the positive today.
Right. So our nominees are going to be AEW All Out, which was from September something, or August. I don't know. It was there.
It happened.
AEW Double or Nothing, which was in like, I would say that one was like either late April, early May, and that one's like kind of their spring pay-per-view. I thought one of the really good ones, I remember really enjoying NXT's Great American Bash, which was one of the TV specials.
Yep.
The only really standout one for them, and then also NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, which was the 2-night affair.
Right.
I've seen like when the one channel on YouTube is ranking the pay-per-views, they separate the nights of WrestleMania.
Right, no.
But I figure we can just group them in there easier.
It's not winning anyways for me. So.
That being said, I include AEW Fighter Fest Night 2. But to be fair, those were like, I don't know, I feel like those were
separate weeks.
Yeah. Instead of like back-to-back days. So a little different, but maybe that's just my opinion. AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, I feel like, was kind of a TV special, so I kind of threw that in there. Definitely had the feel. And, of course, AEW's final pay-per-view of 2021, which was Full Gear.
Yes.
So you want to go first with your pick?
Sure. So my close second was AEW All Out, which was a really good show.
Really good. And it capped off with a couple of nice debuts, which we'll talk about later.
Right. But no show this year impressed me from top to bottom quite like the fairly recent AEW Full Gear, right?
It was one of their best efforts of all time, I would say.
Absolutely loved the opener. That was my match of the night.
That was awesome.
Which was Darby Allin MJF, and that was on a night full of good matches, and it was my favorite right out of the gate. Yep. And then on top of that, we got the culmination of the Adam Page Elite storyline, right? That we at least here were super interested in, and even the matches I wasn't really interested in on that show, I can't say they were bad. Right. They were still fine to good. Just a purely entertaining 4 hours of a wrestling show. And as somebody who paid full price for that, I didn't bat an eye. At the end of it, I was totally happy to drop, I think it was $40 in Canada on the pay-per-view. I think it was
like $40, $50 or something.
Which is a factor for me, right? Like, I feel like I got value out of that. I love that show.
WWE was still in those days, A, we wouldn't have watched all of them this year.
No,
and
not
B,
at all.
You'd probably be left wanting for your money back more often than not.
The only reason I keep the network is because the pay-per-views are included, right? And we still watch all of those, and it's worth it to
And it's got
get,
the back catalog, which I know you go through sometimes, right? So there's always that use, and
there is. I was
stuff
watching
like UK.
something super old the other night, even.
I mean, you're watching a lot of WCW.
I am.
Usually, you're like, oh, I watched this from
1990
WCW.
something.
Right.
But anyways, AEW Full Gear is my pay-per-view of the year.
I am gonna say, for the folks who don't like us agreeing, you're gonna hate this show.
We do agree on a bunch of things.
But I'm gonna also have to agree with that choice. AEW Full Gear, it was one of AEW's best pay-per-views, period, so it had to be their best of the year, I think. It easily beats out anything NXT put out, which, to be fair, I enjoyed Great American Match. I thought TakeOver Stand and Deliver both nights were pretty good. I didn't include it, but TakeOver 36 was solid as well. But it had so much to love. A match of the year contender for the opener. Lucha Bros FTR was fun as well.
It was.
Punk vs. Kingston was a nice slugfest.
Awesome.
A 6-man tag Falls Count Anywhere match. I don't know if I've ever seen a 6-man tag Falls Count Anywhere match before,
right.
So that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. Even the street fight was solid, which I didn't really care about. Women's title match was solid as well. And the finale to the epic saga of the Elite storyline and the coronation of Hangman Page as champion was just the icing on top, really. Even stuff I didn't love, like I said, is the street fight wasn't bad either necessarily. It was like a very enjoyable pay-per-view.
It was super good. Yeah, I kind of almost forgot about the Punk Eddie Kingston, which was an awesome match too.
Yep.
Yeah, great show.
Best on the microphone.
So our next category is what I call Mike Man of the Year, also including women, but Mike Man just has
Sounds
a better
good.
ring
You
to
like the
it.
alliteration?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So our nominations are going to be All Ego Ethan Page, Kenny Omega, of course, MJF, CM Punk, Brit Baker, Eddie Kingston, Don Callis, who I've kind of really forgotten about. He's kind of gone now.
I snuck him in there when you weren't looking.
He was pretty good. And then
was.
also I added in Bryan Danielson, because
Yeah.
I think he actually kind of snuck in there as well.
Everything he's done has been golden.
So who are you going with?
So,
Big mystery.
couple of my favorites. If Eddie Kingston had a more prominent role this year, or if Moxley had stayed around for the whole year, they could have been in the running for sure, because to me, I don't find anyone more realistic and entertaining than Eddie Kingston. But I'm not choosing either of them because this guy, it's MJF, right? He wins
always MJF.
pretty easily for me here. No one is more consistent than he is. Nobody is asked, I don't think, to so regularly deliver lengthy promos, right? For women, it would likely be Brit Baker, although I think Deonna Purrazzo is somebody that nobody really sees, but she's fantastic. But I'm pretty sure it has to be MJF here, right? That's my choice anyways.
Mm-hmm. I have to pick MJF. He just once again stands out as untouchable on the mic. He's always high on himself as a heel, but his self-praise of his mic skills are really where he's on the mark. His promo battle with CM Punk was one of my favorite promo segments of the year, and he had countless other great ones that seemed to come on a weekly basis, if they didn't actually. A close one for me was I always enjoy Ethan Page. He always brings some great energy to his promos. He's pretty close. And once he embraces inner heel, I thought Bryan Danielson's work on the mic really came out more, despite him never being a bad promo. Although we did group this award, if I had to pick from women, I would obviously go with Brit Baker.
Right, I think those two are pretty much the top in either company.
But definitely have to go with MJF.
Yep.
Feud of the year.
Next we move on to our best feud of the year. This is another overall one. So the nominees we had were Omega versus Moxley, which kind of carried on from the end of last year. Omega versus Hangman, Cole versus O'Reilly from NXT, Lucha Bros versus
and
Young Bucks.
And AEW now, they're still they referred to it this week.
That's true. Lucha Bros versus Young Bucks, which was kind of short but culminated in that cage match, and then to throw main roster a bone, McIntyre versus Lashley.
Not winning, spoiler alert.
Yep. What you got?
So for me, there was one feud that brought the feud itself was great, and then it brought lots of other people into it too, and the entire thing worked for me, and that was the Hangman Page and Kenny Omega feud. So that included obviously the members of the Elite, the members of Dark Order, which two groups that I really enjoy for very different reasons, right? Heel and babyface. I enjoyed the story and the matches that sort of broke out surrounding it. And then we get the satisfying resolution in a great match. And then we get what we were waiting for, right? For however long now, the Hangman Page ascension to champion. So it was a lengthy feud, lasted most of the year, right? And I thought it was really well done and incorporated lots of other people that I enjoy seeing. So that was my feud of the year.
Mm-hmm. I thought just the promo and character work with these two is awesome, and they pretty much matched in the ring. It was the best piece of storytelling that they've had for a while. The best piece of long-term storytelling that they've had. Like, if you want to prove that they can do the long-term storytelling, like this is a great example, because I feel like it's ran for years. I feel like it's been going on since, like, I don't know, you could date it back as far as you want, really.
They do slow burn things really well in AEW.
I think it peaked when it turned into the Hangman Omega feud. Like, it's kind of been running as, like, with the Elite's reign and terror and whatnot. The Hangman Omega feud is really where things got going for me, and that's what this is about. The segments were great, I thought. We got a lot of cool segments between these two, and we even got like that 10-man elimination tag, which was awesome. Then they kind of slow burned it again because Hangman was having a baby.
Right.
But then they picked it back up when Hangman won the ladder match, and then it just felt great when Hangman finally got the moment. There were some other good feuds, like I kind of enjoyed Cole versus O'Reilly.
For sure.
And Lucha Bros vs. Bucks was short, but it was good. But this one just easily stands alone as the best.
Yeah, because this was the Lucha Bros Bucks was less promos, right? This was great in ring and promos and like all the stuff surrounding it.
Right.
Yep.
Storyline of the year.
Next, this one kind of goes hand in hand with the last one.
Does.
Is Storyline of the Year. We only could come up with 2 nominees. They're pretty similar, but the Elite's Reign of Terror and then Hangman's journey to the AEW title.
Yeah, so I stuck with Hangman. I took his road to the title for the same reasons I said above. Both of these guys did some amazing character work and mic work, solid supporting cast to make it more interesting. A story targeted just to sort of contrast with WWE, not to rip on them, but this felt like it was a story for thoughtful adults and not children, right? So that's what I kind of loved about it. So yeah, easy pick for me.
I'd have to agree with that pick. It's been literal years in the making. The wrestling loves to say that, but this was really years in the making. And we've been watching it, I think, since AEW's inception. In hindsight, it really feels like Hangman's entire run in AEW has been building into his title win, which, like, a lot of people, like, a lot of stars, I guess the goal is to win the title, but it feels like literally his whole journey has been really building the title. And maybe that's not true, maybe it is, but I think everything kind of felt planned out to a degree, like everything from him losing to Jericho to the tag title run with Omega. It just feels like it was all put in place perfectly to build to his moment this year. And when he finally got the moment he deserved, it was just awesome. Even the way how they kind of ramped it up in the summer with like the Dark Order 10-man tag and whatnot, even just to cut it off for a bit before going full send again to finally give the rewarding payoff. It was worked perfectly. Hangman's road to the title, and the title win was further complemented because he toppled the most tyrannical of champions in Kenny Omega.
He did.
And this is one of the clearest choices for me.
It was an easy one to do this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Faction or group of the year.
Next we go to our faction of the year. So the nominees will be Death Triangle, who kind of a bit of a reformation this year. The Elite, who dominated most of the year. The Pinnacle, begrudgingly the Inner Circle.
Because they existed and did stuff for the year.
Exactly, that's the qualification.
Yep.
The Bloodline and the Dark Order.
Yes, so for me this was pretty easy, and I think, to be fair, if we were more regular watchers of WWE main roster, it might have been closer, because I know the Bloodline did all kinds of cool stuff throughout the year. I think
they formed really formed kind of halfway through the year.
Probably, and I think it's kind of waning a bit now from what I hear from people that I trust that are watching it. But for me it was easy. I like some of the other factions, don't get me wrong. Like, technically, Death Triangle's made up of 3 of my absolute faves in the wrestling business.
That's still one of my favorite combinations ever, but
I can't give them this award, right? It's hard not to give this to the faction that contains, I don't want to spoil it, but it's going to contain some major award winners that are coming up later in this show. So it'd be sort of silly for me not to include them here.
The sheer amount of, time they're on TV and whatnot,
And so for me, it is the Elite, and by a pretty wide margin if you look at the accomplishments of specifically Omega and the Young Bucks this year, and everything they've done in-ring, outside of the ring, just the whole package, right? So it's got to be the Elite for me for Faction of the Year.
Another very easy choice, as the Elite dominated AEW TV screens, but personally I don't think it was too much or unearned, which some people thought, because they're the EVPs, but I thought they were amazing. They are obnoxious and entertaining for nearly the entire year, and they all dropped their titles in perfect fashion to my, literally the ideal choices. I think they dropped it to the exact people who they should have dropped them to. They were even able to add another A-list member, baby. And I did like that we got a lot more of Death Triangle this year, though, because I feel like Pac and the whole COVID thing kind of halted their momentum last year.
Yeah, he got stuck overseas, I think, right?
So while they're a bit of a stop-start, they definitely got more time to shine this year, so I thought that was pretty nice. But the Elite is a clear, just top dog.
Yep, they are awesome.
And I think even having Doc Gallows in their group did not slow them down.
Well, a little bit.
He slowed down. Well,
they would have won by a larger margin.
maybe
if you weren't there.
Maybe literally slowed them down.
Yes, he literally for sure slowed them down.
Breakout Star of the Year.
Next we move to our breakout star of the year, looking for like a star who's kind of broken out of their current spot.
Yep.
And kind of gotten a new level of prominence, so to speak. Our nominations, we got Daniel Garcia, who kind of came to AEW and really got like more of a rise in prominence. Jade Cargill, who I wouldn't have even known at the beginning of the year, and now is one of the
featured,
the most prominent stars in the women's division.
Say best.
Yeah, I can't use that word.
No, can't.
The Acclaimed, who I've really enjoyed since that Buck Hunt music video
that was
last year, but I think they've really rose to prominence even more. Dante Martin, formerly of Top Flight.
Yeah, his brother getting injured seemed to help him, right?
Yep.
He started getting singles matches and tagged up with other people and had a heck of a year.
And Dark Order's John Silver, who got a little more spotlight shone on him this year as well.
And I think people are starting to realize what a great wrestler John Silver is, right? Because he's getting some... And he's just hilarious in general. But for me, it was a 2-horse race. I personally haven't seen enough of Garcia yet to give it to him, even though he gets a lot of praise from a lot of people. I don't think Jade has quite earned it just through mostly her in-ring work, right? So my choice needs to definitely work on his acting and his speaking and his character work, because it's not strong. But for me, in-ring, Dante Martin, right?
This is different. Like, if it was most improved, I probably wouldn't give it to him. But I feel like Breakout is a little different from
like
improving.
This is the guy whose visibility for me is...
Right, exactly. That's
from
what this one's
January
about.
to December is way different,
exactly.
Right? So Dante Martin, he continued to deliver... match after match. Like, I get excited to hear he's in a match with like a new matchup, because he does things in the ring that few people can do, and he makes them look super easy. And then on top of that, I really feel like he does things that other people can't do at all. So he has clearly been noticed as he's had some great performances. So he's been sort of given several higher and higher profile matches kind of to end the year on a high note. So whether it's in a tag team or in one of his many singles matches, always gets my attention, always does something impressive, just jumping around the ring, and just the things he can do are amazing. So he is entertaining. He is my breakout star of the year.
Yep.
Most breaky-outiest wrestler.
He broke out the most.
The most broken out.
The most broken out. Nice. I think AEW had a lot of great new stars this year. I think like WWE didn't have anything in this category.
No, I don't think too hard about them. If something doesn't jump out, I don't.
That's not really by design. That's just how it happens.
Yep.
But I think the breakout star of the year is Dante Martin. Each of the candidates has broken out to some degree, but I think Dante Martin really broke out his position the most. When his brother got injured, that just greenlit a bit of a rise for him.
Right.
He had a series of stand-up performances, even going toe-to-toe with the then world champ in that, I think it was a trios match, remember, with Omega? Like, I think that was, like, really the first one for him. And
they really spent time focusing on him in that,
he
right?
Looked even better in some solos matches. I think one against Peraz. Even when he was back in a tag team for a bit, the matches with Leo Rush were just super entertaining. We only got like 2 on Dynamite, but still very entertaining. He was always an athletic wonder, but I think this time he really stood out this year, broke out.
He's starting to look more like a wrestler, right? And not just an athlete who's incredible athlete, but he's looking like a wrestler now.
And I don't know, if he does go back to teaming with Rush, I think that'd be a good tag team to have around.
I had fun with that.
He definitely does need to work on his stuff outside of the ring, but as far as in the ring goes, I think he'll be set for a while.
We have agreed on everything so far.
Is that so?
So far.
I did say that.
Yep.
There was the warning.
Consensus so far. Go ahead. What's next?
Most improved wrestler of the year.
And next we go to a pretty similar one, but like I said, it is different. Most improved of the year.
Right, because they could have improved but still not broken out, or they could have already been broken out and still improving, like somebody on this list, I feel like, right?
Right. So nominees are Ty Conti, Raquel Gonzalez, Ilya Dragonov, Kyle O'Reilly, Jungle Boy, The Acclaimed, Dante Martin, and Miro.
Yeah, so Miro was the one I was thinking about. Like, he's broken out before, right, and been a star in other places, but for him, it was just that character he figured out, from the video game playing guy to now the Redeemer, right? So he's not my choice here, but I just wanted to sort of try and provide the difference between most improved and breakout, at least to me.
Yeah.
So I was close to giving this to Tay Conti or Raquel Gonzalez, but for me, they kind of got caught and passed right near the end of this year by the winner of this award, and that for me is the Acclaimed. So they did deal with some injuries this year.
Acclaimed, top of the chain.
And I remember at the beginning of this, I was noticing that Caster had improved a lot, because I didn't think either of them were great for a while.
Yeah, I remember they had that match against SCU that they won, but they didn't really do anything.
Right. And they weren't doing moves.
Year,
There was a couple matches where we're like, actually count the wrestling moves they're doing, right? Like, there's almost none in there.
I can't remember if that was like early this year or the end of last year, but it was around then.
Then near the end of the year, I was more noticing Bowen, right? And he's really good. It gotten a lot better. And I mean, the entrance with the Raps coming in is amazing.
I've always enjoyed their entrance. That's just been so awesome.
So they've become, for me, just a really strong heel unit that combines some of the old school and new school elements. I've really enjoyed the work they've done this year. So the Acclaimed are my most improved performers of the year, I guess.
I would have originally thought to immediately pick Conti, honestly. As early in the year, I remember she just, like, we were both really impressed in a couple of matches she had, seeming to have made great strides, opposed to her NXT run, where she was relatively just unnoticed.
Yes.
But somewhere along the line, I thought her momentum just kind of halted. Like, I feel like in the later half of the year, like, she hasn't really done much.
Good,
she's
but
still at the same level, but I feel like
plateaued. Right?
She's still at that level, but she hasn't really, like, gotten better, or, like, she hasn't been given enough time to shine and show us that she has.
Yep.
Whereas I think the Acclaimed have always been entertaining outside the ring. They've only built up momentum, and sitting at the end of the year, I can confidently say they're an all-around solid tag team. And towards the beginning of the year or end of last year, thinking they weren't much in the ring because we didn't see much. Now I think Bones is much better and Caster is too. And sometime next year, they wouldn't be my top choice, but I wouldn't mind them getting a run at the tag belts.
And they could be back next year for us as breakout stars, right? Because they could be poised. Again, it is a really packed division, but if they can find some time in some way. Because I've seen Max Caster since he was on the Indies, and I didn't find him very impressive back then. So he's improved a ton. They're really good now.
Right. I mean, if they were able to find a solid third, trios champs.
Yep.
Right. I can't wait for those titles to come in. They gotta come in soon.
They should.
Wrestler Debut of the Year.
Next we go to a new category. We did change up some of the categories. Like, I remember we had, like, segment of the year last year.
We did.
It went up, but this time we got debut of the year.
Well, guess what?
That
would be my winner for this would be segment of the year. So it doesn't matter what you want to call it. It's going to win either way.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
In this case, because this year I don't think there's any debate on this one.
So debut of the year, it's an AEW heavy category. Nominees are Andrade El Idolo, Malachi Black, Adam Cole, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, MSK, and Von Wagner. Just kidding.
No Braun Breaker?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. Braun Breaker, too. Just kidding.
No.
Just to insult NXT a bit, because they deserve it.
This was one of the few no-brainers on this list. Only one return that we return sort of debut, I guess. Sort of spoiling my answer there. It led to an all-time wrestling moment that to me is the only thing comparable to Jericho's debut in WWE. As somebody who was a huge Jericho fan at that time, this was the only thing reminiscent, and that was the debut of CM Punk this year in AEW. I say it all the time, I'm not even a really big fan of CM Punk, but this was an undeniable moment that people are going to talk about, wrestling fans will talk about forever. It even got a reaction from my wife as she was, like, walking by and just watching the ovation that lasted for however many minutes it was, right? When the crowd was, and she was like, wow.
It was one of the most insane pops
like, that must be feel pretty cool, right? So even a non-wrestling person stopped literally and took note of it. This will go down as a classic wrestling moment, and it was really appointment viewing, right? Because AEW also did a great job of letting us know it was going to happen, but not telling us outright. And because they're not WWE, you actually know they're going to follow through, and they're not going to go, ha, 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 it didn't happen, right?
That was funny. It was kind of like a worst-kept secret on purpose, and it's really reminiscent of later in the year when Spider-Man movie came out. Like, Hollywood's worst-kept secret is that Tony Maguire and Andrew Garfield were going to be in it.
Because they want you to come because of it, but they don't want to ruin the moment. So they just lead you right up to it, right?
So
whereas WWE would use that opportunity to screw us over and laugh at us. AEW is like trying this really unique concept for a business, which is giving your customers what they want, which is a crazy concept for WWE to ever employ. but AEW does it, and it was an amazing moment, easily the moment of the year, debut of the year, segment of the year, whatever you want to call it.
I think it does have to be said, though, that there were a lot of great debuts in AEW this year. They were just on fire, signing a lot of people, which, I mean, we've said they shouldn't be doing, but they were getting it right.
Danielson is the next one for me, probably.
I think he made a pretty nice debut, yeah.
And just what he's done since getting there, right?
Yeah. I think Andrade and Malachi Black were close in timing, but both very exciting. I remember freaking out, I was like, oh my god, Aleister Black's on AEW. So I remember that being really cool. Those were both very pleasing as well, and I could say the same for Adam Cole, because they kind of teased that, and then towards the end of All Out, he debuted. That was really awesome, and Bryan Danielson following right up, I think, was awesome as well. But the clear choice is obviously CM Punk. Not my favorite guy who debuted this year. That would be Adam Cole if I were choosing my favorite guy who debuted.
I would probably agree. Or Danielson, but that's not what this is about, right?
But it was the year's best moment.
Yep.
Like, if we're talking about, like, moments, that is just the standalone one. It'll probably live with a lot of people forever.
Iconic it is.
It was iconic. It was just so cool, from the teases and hype to the night it happened. The sheer insanity of the pop when Cult of Personality hit is a moment that will stick with me and a lot of people forever. It was simply surreal. You had everyone in the arena, I'm assuming around the world, losing their minds. It's even, like, rumors about Punk returning to WWE or just returning to wrestling had made the rounds
always
repeatedly for years, never ever came to fruition. But this year AEW made it happen. It was absolutely electric, as they would say. It was awesome.
Yep.
Most underrated wrestler of the year.
Next we go to a new category, which I feel like we'll probably make a regular, because I see this a lot and places. I think it works. Is underrated wrestler of the year. The way we work, I feel like underrated belongs in the best of, because that means someone good who's not really appreciated.
Yes.
And then overrated we will be talking about in the best,
because
in the worst of.
Not so complimentary.
Exactly.
Yes.
So the people we've nominated are Bobby Fish, Stu Grayson, Sean Spears, Layla Hirsch, Evil Uno, Keith Lee, by WWE at least.
By people who matter in that company, unfortunately.
Angelico, or dare I say both, to TH2, the Elite Hunter, Frankie Kazarian, Proud and Powerful, and Fabian Eichner.
Yes, so this was about the closest I came to giving something to an NXT star when I wasn't forced to. So my honorable mention would be Fabian Eichner. I think this guy is tremendous. I think Imperium is one of the only things I look forward to on NXT 2.0 right now. He's just an amazing combination of speed and strength and everything else. But once I started to think about this category, the choice for me personally became obvious. This wrestler almost always does one or two things in a match just to awe me a little bit, or I'll gasp or something. And we did see him live at an indie show before he was in AEW, and that really highlighted just how fast and athletic this guy is. We always put him over on the podcast for his ability and for being Canadian, and that is Stu Grayson, is my most underrated wrestler. I'm very confident in this choice, and as a bonus, I did get to speak to him for a few moments after that indie show, right? And he seemed like a super nice guy. Like, I came away from that thinking he was a really good dude. He is an amazing wrestler who doesn't get a lot of attention, so it's Stu Grayson for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think we disagree on this one for the first time. Nice.
While my boy Grayson is a very close pick, I decided to go with Bobby Fish, who made his debut in AEW a little while ago. And so Undisputed Era has been my favorite faction for a while when they were around. I love them all, but even I never cared a ton about Bobby Fish. He was usually injured, and he was just the least all-around interesting of them, I think.
He was the afterthought of the group.
They were all good, but yeah, he was kind of the group's afterthought. However, since his debut in Challenge of Guevara's TNT title on Dynamite and subsequent matches against the likes of Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, among others, I've seen how great he can be, as he's pretty entertaining in the ring. He works a very interesting style, and I've actually come to like him quite a bit, so I'd pick him as my most underrated, because I actually have been underrating him myself for the longest time as well. I think it's also a testament to like how AEW can do it so much better than WWE.
He wasn't even winning matches in AEW, and he looked amazing, right? Like, he was losing every match, and I'm going, but like, he's so fun to watch. His style's so cool, and everything looks so good. And doesn't even matter if he wins, really.
Right, to the point where like now the Undisputed Era is kind of reforming in AEW, and like I would kind of consider him as like he's not going to be really much of an afterthought for me, because I've like he's definitely like he's way better now, and he's been pretty underrated for me for a while.
There's something about the presentation in AEW that seems to benefit basically everybody. So I don't know what it is, but Everybody's looking better, pretty much.
So next we're moving into a section which we're calling the major awards. So these are like the main ones, so to speak.
These are the big ones.
WWE Match of the Year.
So we're gonna start with our WWE Match of the Year. So this is where you're gonna see us go into WWE, AEW, and then overall.
Yes.
So yeah, that's how this is going.
Actually, I shouldn't say that. There were some good matches in WWE. I'm being hard on them, but they do some good work. Generally, the pay-per-views are at least okay, right? With a couple good matches.
Yeah.
What do you got for us?
So our nominees for WWE are going to be, so this is NXT and main roster. Walter versus Ilya Dragunov from NXT TakeOver 36.
The rematch.
Yep. Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly 2 from Great American Bash. That was the second match between them. I put in Johnny Gargano and
match.
Austin Theory versus Pete Dunne and Oney Lorcan from NXT June 22nd.
That's your sleeper match of the year. You love that one.
That was a sleeper. If I had a sleeper match, that would be it, man. Karrion Kross versus Pete Dunne versus Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano from TakeOver in Your House. That 5-way, which is very fun.
Look at Karrion Kross getting the nod for match of the year. Because that was the match where they took him out for like 10 minutes, right? So he didn't have to wrestle.
Right. That was his multi-man defense. Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan versus Edge, WrestleMania 37 Night 2, which was like, if I had to pick just a main roster match to go with, that would be it. Because that was like a rare main roster match I genuinely enjoyed. I would just like to give an honorable mention to that one.
Right.
And then finally, our last nominee is Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks from WrestleMania 37 Night 1. So the two Mania main events squeeze in there as the only main roster matches here.
And one of them is my honorable mention because I really enjoyed the match, and that was...
That's funny. My honorable mention is the other one.
My Belair Sasha Banks match. Give the main roster a little bit of love. I thought that was an excellent match. Kind of over-delivered for me.
I really liked that one too, but it was weird. Like, I feel like most people love that, and I liked it, but then I was just like, I really enjoyed the other one better for some reason.
Yeah, that's fine. Opinions can be different. It makes for a more interesting show, probably. But as for my winners, their first match was close to being my match of the year last year, and the rematch was what I thought...
I was about to ask why, but then I remembered the match of the year last year, which
so how am I
going to
defeat that? So I thought this was the best match in WWE this year, and it's funny because it's from two guys that don't really wrestle in North America, right? So not on main roster or NXT. That's obviously Walter versus Dragonov 2. Just another absolute slugfest, mixed in with really strong wrestling too, but just had me captivated with the simple brutality that each one of these guys is just willing to sustain to entertain us. Like, they just kind of, like we always say, right, on our podcast, they have an agreement where it's just like, you can literally beat on me for a while in this and we'll entertain people.
Right.
So I remember I did really enjoy O'Reilly and Adam Cole too, but the Walter Dragonov match is really the only one that stood out to me that I didn't even, without having to go back and look or whatever, this was the match that came to mind. You had the unbeatable champion in Walter, finally beaten by the unlikely challenger.
Who, to his credit, improved a lot in the build-up to that match.
And for me, it was... on the mic, he impressed me a lot.
Yeah, that's
right?
what it was. Because I remember enjoying him in the ring after the first match. But I feel like he really ramped up his character work.
They kept the build and the story really simple, but that's not a bad thing. They did it really effectively.
It was almost like an AEW style build. Like,
it was
one of the things they really did well this year.
And the match was fantastic. So that's my WWE match of the year.
So, like I said, honorable mention to the WrestleMania Night 2 main event, that 3-way, which I thought was really nice. And so my pick is a little bit of an unconventional one. It might be on par with the Walter and Dragonov, but I enjoyed this one a lot more. NXT went through a lot this year, even changing completely in September. Well, it may have slipped a bit this year before that as well. It had a good amount of solid matches. There are some good ones to choose from Walter's Dragonov 2, the 5-way in Your House, Cole O'Reilly 2. But I went with a one-off TV match that I still remember as being great. That tag match between Gargano and Theory and Dunne and Lorcan, I really loved it. It was a great example of how to do a TV match, right? It stands out one of NXT's and WWE's best matches of the year for me, and it was only on an average episode of TV. It's up against, for me, these takeover matches, WrestleMania main events, and I still loved it. While others might be better, I think it says something that I enjoyed this as much as those when it was just on a random episode of NXT.
It's that little bit of surprise factor helps, right? Like, you're expecting, like, this will be a solid TV match.
But I just really enjoyed this. It was super well done. And the only main roster match of the year I remember genuinely really enjoying was the Mania 2 night main event, but the Sasha versus Belair match was good too, but the output from NXT is generally better, and that TV tag match still remains a standout of the year for me amongst all these bigger pay-per-view matches.
It kind of reminds me.
I really enjoyed it.
Remember what tag match surprised me on NXT? And it was a Catanzaro and Carter were in it, and I forget who else, but I was like, man, that was a really
Dakota
good...
and Raquel, I think.
It was a really good match.
Yeah, I think it was Dakota and Raquel. I think that was this year, right?
Yeah, it caught me by surprise, for sure. Yep.
So yeah, that's
an interesting choice. I like it.
Match of the year.
AEW Match of the Year.
And next we move to AEW Match of the Year. So like I said, we're separating from a promotion. Then after this will be our overall Match of the Year, which is just which is just essentially giving another pat in the hat to... Pat in the back to...
Pat in the hat? The cat in the hat?
Pat in the back to AEW.
Probably.
So nominations are going to be Lucha Bros vs. the Young Bucks Steel Cage match from All Out.
Crazy.
The Super Elite versus the Dark Order from Fight for the Fallen, which is the Survivor Series match, except it was good. Sorry, I had to say that. Brit Baker versus Thunder Rosa, the Lights Out match from Dynamite. I think it was St. Patrick's Day Slam. I did research to check, I'm pretty sure. Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega, Dynamite Grand Slam. Young Bucks versus SCU, which I think was from Blood and Guts, I want to say. I remember that was good. That was the SCU is done match. And Omega versus Hangman from Full Gear. And Darby Allin versus MJ from Full Gear. I didn't add it here, but we forgot to mention Hangman versus Danielson from Winter is Coming was the late edition.
That was a late edition. So this was the hardest category for me to choose on this list. I went back and watched some of the contenders, and I was still unsure, so I watched the Lucha Brothers and Bucks cage match again. Absolute spectacle. Pedal to the metal from the opening bell. Like, within a minute, there was crazy stuff happening in this, some breathtaking spots along the way. And then if it were solely based on enjoyment, which it's not, I would probably say that the Brit Baker Thunder Rosa unsanctioned match would be my favorite.
For me, if I'm going on enjoyment, I would definitely go on the cage match.
Yeah. So that might have been my favorite match, but the category is for the best match, and that's a little bit different for me. So I'm giving that to the 60-minute Bryan Danielson Hangman from Draw from a couple weeks ago. This match was incredible, had me captivated. Honestly, to me, felt about half as long as it actually was, and I think that's a big compliment. It did not feel like a 1-hour wrestling match. From the action to the storytelling in the ring, the strong character work by each man, just an instant classic, this match. I really think that AEW had a lot of matches that I could have chosen, and it could be coming down to a little bit of recency bias affecting me.
Yeah, I think this one still is very fresh in the mind. I think that's fair to say.
So I am taking Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Page as my match of the year for AEW.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to agree. I'm picking Hangman versus Danielson as well. For a while, even after this match, I was still going to pick Omega versus Danielson, which I think was still a near flawless half-hour pro wrestling. But I think Hangman versus Danielson narrowly beats it. Also, credit to Bryan Danielson.
I'm surprised you switched.
Bryan Danielson for two very good match of the year candidates. Yep. I must say, props to him. It had another half hour to work with, which I think benefited, because the in-ring storytelling here was impeccable. And I say that in every sense of the word. Bryan's in-ring master is on full display here. The time limit draw didn't feel like a detractor, even though I was really pulling for a Hangman win here. There were some great spots and sequences. The way Bryan would go after any weakness or mistake Hangman made was great. It was smart. It took up half of the show, but didn't feel like a slog or anything. It builds a lot of anticipation for the rematch, which should be amazing as well, which is coming soon.
Yes.
But definitely honorable mentions to Omega Danielson and the cage match.
Yep.
And Darby Allin.
I did not expect you to pick that one.
Nice.
Interesting.
Overall match of the year.
So overall match of the year. I'm curious to see which one you think.
I went with it's not really close for me. Like, I love Dragonov Walter, but Hangman Danielson.
No, AEW is better? I'm shocked.
Just on another level as far as I'm concerned. And doing this exercise, right, of kind of going back and looking at the year. You
shortened it to Drag Walter. That's funny.
Nice. It really drives home for me, and I think for you too, that, like, the style of wrestling on WWE main roster just isn't for me, right? Like, it's just, looking back at everything this year, it's hard to include WWE in some of these categories.
I mean, other than like two matches, which were genuinely good, which were even still a bit of main roster style, and also they were from the biggest show of the year, right? So it's kind of little different.
Yep, and it's just that that product really isn't for me, and I'm super thankful AEW exists, man, let me tell you.
Yes, I agree. I'm gonna agree. Nothing WWE had to offer even comes close to some of my honorable mentions for AEW's match of the year. Hangman versus Danielson just stands out from the rest as the best. A true masterclass, and I pretty much went over it already, but it was awesome.
Yep.
WWE Tag Team of the Year.
So next we move to WWE's Tag Team of the Year, which is probably the hardest category to do because Vince has a back catalog of amazing tag teams.
Right.
It was incredibly close. There were like a lot of good ones here.
The Dirty Dogs made the nomination, for God's sake.
Yeah. I wouldn't have done that, but they did actually. When they were champs, I remember they kept defending in like multi-man matches and whatever. So based on activity alone,
as a person who only watches pay-per-views, I don't think I've seen them wrestle ever.
They dropped the titles to the Mysterios. Okay, we saw that at WrestleMania Backlash. Okay, it was at WrestleMania Backlash. So you better remember it. All right. And I'm still sad they're not called Rudolph, if I'm being honest.
They should be, obviously.
Right? Like, come on. That's why they're not getting it. If they were Rudolph, bro, they'd be my tag team of the decade. All right? Like, all right. So, in all seriousness, we include MSK, Ciampa and Thatcher, what happened to Timothy Thatcher?
R.I.P. Timothy Thatcher.
Someone tell me what happened to Timothy Thatcher. I know he's not dead. I know he exists.
He was rumored to be in Diamond Mine, which would be a smart fit.
That would be awesome. That would be the only acceptable replacement for Tyler Rust, and even then, it's still a gaping void.
Someone I was listening to was calling for a fight pit with Walter and Riddle. Fight pit, but it's got to be Thatcher.
It's got to be Thatcher.
Make it a three-way then.
Yes, yes.
There's the loophole.
Put in Thatcher or have Thatcher ref it.
Fight pit. I don't
guess.
know. If he's alive, is he alive?
I don't know. Whoa, last time you made that joke, it was with Brody Lee. Okay,
that is true.
So you can't do that anymore.
I should not do that.
All right,
you're right. You're right.
Other nominees: Burt and Lorcan, Imperium, Rudolph. I'll call him Rudolph now. The New Day, the Usos, RK Bro, and Street Profits. Main roster. Getting a bone here.
This was a struggle for me because WWE hates tag team wrestling, and I don't even think...
Whoa, Vince hates tag team wrestling.
I don't even think they try to hide it. So I love Imperium right now, but their year overall wasn't that strong.
Yeah, they were pretty, like, under the radar until, like, the tail end of the year.
Right, and since I only watch main roster WWE pay-per-views and not weekly TV, I really don't think any tag teams stand out because they don't get a lot of attention or prominent spots on their pay-per-views, right?
Normally, like, I feel like Usos or New Day would be good consideration,
yes.
But I feel like they didn't even have, like, the strongest of years. Like, yes, the Usos were very prominent in the Bloodline, but I don't think even this run matches up to their, like, 2017 run.
I'm just kind of tired of them, to be honest. They're just
a little bit,
still,
right?
But... So I kind of have to take MSK in this category since they were the champions of the only brand that sort of cares about tag teams a little bit, at least before.
Or they did.
Right.
Before they got Briggs and Jensen and Jacket Time.
MSK's character work is incredibly cringeworthy a lot of the time, especially the 2.0 version of them. Their promos aren't very good, but they're very fun to watch in the ring.
I think they're poised for a great year. They have a shaman now. So.
They do. And they were given a sustained push immediately, right? And
that's true.
think they had the best year among WWE tag teams, I guess. So
I
MSK
think they kind of had to, yeah. They were champs for most of the year, right?
Kind of by default, because again, if I'm telling you all I watch main roster is pay-per-views, the tag teams aren't there and aren't doing anything. So I don't really see any of them. So it's MSK for me.
I would like to shout out Grizzly Young Veterans as a underrated and now mistreated tag team.
Very much agree.
Who I used to very much love, and James Drake is still a cool boy.
They are cool.
I will also pick MSK. It is much, much less defined than AEW because I think in AEW there is one team who was untouchable there, and nobody in WWE stands out nearly as much. A great deal across 3 shows. No, right. It's like AEW's got a host of great tag teams on like one main show now, Rampage, which was not here for most of the year. But MSK is still, I guess, a clear choice as they had some good matches throughout the year. They had, like you said, the sustained push for as soon as they got here. They were champions for most of the year as well, and they're the most prominent of NXT's teams. I think that they were more entertaining than any of the main roster champs as well. They definitely weren't the best for a sustained title run, though, because of the lacking abilities outside of the ring.
Yeah.
But they did good enough carrying the division, I think, throughout most of the year.
Yeah, I don't think they really elevated the titles, but I mean, again, what other choice do we have, really, right?
Yeah. Like I said, the Usos would be a close consideration, but despite the Bloodline making them prominent again, doesn't feel up to their runs in previous years.
Right, and I just didn't see enough of them to be honest.
That is also true. They kind of came in the fold later in the year because Jimmy
was one of the Usos, right? Focused on whichever one it was.
For a bit, yeah. It was Jay, and then Jimmy came back, and then they started doing tag stuff again.
Because Jay was like full-on singles wrestler for a while there.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not a world champion with Roman because he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal this year.
That's the ticket to stardom.
Where's his world title run? You know what I'm saying?
Strap the rocket to him.
Exactly.
AEW Tag Team of the Year.
AEW's Tag Team of the Year. We only have a few nominees, which is all you really need. Young Bucks, Lucha Bros, FTR, and Jurassic Express made the cut.
Yeah.
I would even maybe throw in, like, I don't know, you could put in Pound Power or something. I don't know. They didn't. They were technically prominent because they were doing the Inner Circle stuff.
Bear Country.
Bear County. Whoa.
Bear County.
I'm sorry. Can we go back in time to change my match of the year? Gun Club Bear Country.
Right.
Hello.
It's a banger, as the kids say. It's amazing to have a company that respects tag team wrestling.
Oh, remember when FTR came in, and I think it was last year, they literally had the tag team appreciation night? Yep. Remember that's when they turned heel.
Exactly. The Lucha Brothers, FTR, both had a great year with a lengthy feud between each other to end the year. But I gave this, it was not too hard for me. I gave this
not hard at all.
To the Young Bucks. They'd been involved in some of the biggest stories of the year, and they have yet to put on anything other than an entertaining match all year long, including a strong match of the year contender.
Even that match against, what was it, Rocky Romero and Orange Cassidy? I think it was, or no, it was Chuck Taylor, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Chuck Taylor and Rocky Romero. That
Chuck
was like
Taylor's
a late
another underrated wrestler.
That was a late entertaining match as well.
It was. They became even bigger D-bags as mega heels this year, and they're even just the evolution of their ridiculous physical appearance every week
was so awesome.
Was really fun to watch. I say it all the time. I feel like when I talk about Punk, right? I don't want to like these guys. I'm not like prone to liking them, but they are nonstop entertainment for me.
When it's good, it's good.
Their style of wrestling, a lot of people can't stand it. I have no problem with it. Every match is exciting. They are the best tag team going. They are my AEW Tag Team of the Year, the Young Bucks.
I feel like Cornette's one of those people, right?
I would assume he hates them. He hates Kenny Omega, so.
I was gonna say, he hates Omega, so.
Yeah. I just don't give him any time. I won't listen to him.
I assume he hates the Bucks. I would almost want to listen to that just to piss myself off.
Yes, that would.
Just to torture myself.
I assume he loves FTR because they're old school, right?
I mean, they are good, but
they are.
Of course, you would.
Yes.
I don't think we agree a lot, but it's the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? It's
not the Bucks. It's never not going to be the Bucks this year. Similar to Omega, they were dominant champions for most of the year. Had one of their best years yet, if not the best year they've had. While it was off to a bit of a rocky start, once they embraced their inner douche and became obnoxious mega douchebag heels alongside Omega, they were as entertaining as dominant as ever. Their character work was the best I've seen from them, and as on a weekly basis, they seem to get more obnoxious yet fun to watch. Everything they did, from their mannerisms in the ring to their promo or entrance clothes to their hair color and beards, they were always a joy to watch, and just like you wanted to see what they're doing next, and they were putting up bangers like it's nobody's business. I think they dropped their titles in perfect fashion in the best tag match since last year's.
Some say the best tag match ever.
I don't think you can top last year's, but I think it's the best one since then.
Yep.
I think it's given
best
the other
tag team cage match probably.
That definitely, and it's given the other one a run for its money in terms of tag matches. They've earned some rest for sure. Yet they're still on TV pretty regularly. Now alongside I'm Cool with Omega getting a deserved break. Great year for them, and it'll be hard to top. Lucha Bros may have been closer if they were champs longer and did a little more aside from their title run, which started a little lackluster. But like you said, that feud with FTR definitely gave them some points, and FTR gets a brief honorable mention for they still brought the goods. They were involved in the Pinnacle feud, which was a prominent spot, and they won the AAA tag titles late in the year, which ended the Lucha Bros 800 plus day reign, because that's something that Mexico does a lot.
They do.
But so yeah, Young Bucks are the clear choice.
Overall Tag Team of the Year.
And now, in probably the hardest category to pick, is the overall tag team of the year, AEW and WWE.
Is it MSK or is it Young Bucks?
I don't know. See, I struggled. It's of course the Young Bucks. They're just on a different level entirely. Is there anyone else that's even close?
It's the Young Bucks, based on everything we've already said. MSK are not in the same league, so it's the Young Bucks all day.
Although, I must say, Rudolph gave them a run for their money.
For sure.
WWE Female Wrestler of the Year.
Next we move to WWE's Female Wrestler of the Year. The way this will work, we'll do like the female categories for WWE. Overall, we'll do the same for male, and then there's going to be the overall wrestler at the end, encompassing both genders.
Yep.
So WWE's Female Wrestler of the Year nominees are Io Shirai, Raquel Gonzalez, Dakota Kai, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and I guess maybe Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, I suppose you could throw her in there. She's not winning, but why not? Add her in there.
She's not winning, but why not? Yes.
This one was a bit hard for me as well, mostly because nobody really stood out. So I ended up going with Bianca Belair.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think AEW's got like a lot of clear standouts, and the WWE's just like, I guess I'll go with them.
She had a great WrestleMania moment, which sadly might have been her peak because I don't know if they've been handling her quite as well as they should.
Definitely not as of late.
But she had a very good year and is one of the few NXT talents to actually become successful on the main roster. So I feel like this was the category that I was least qualified to address because I just don't remember many standout performances from the women's division this year. It's just the same people in the same combinations over and over again. So Bianca is a little bit of a fresh face, at least still at this point. So I went with her. She had a great year, and I'm a big fan.
Mm-hmm. I think last year was different because there's a clear choice. Remember, we both went with Io Shirai.
Right.
She had a standout year compared to anyone else, but this year no one really had an amazing year or anything. But out of the best that they had, Bianca Belair was the best that they had to offer. Her winning the Rumble this year was finally them really getting something right. I will give them credit where credit is due. That was the right choice, the absolute right choice. I think that was great. And although it was a shaky build, she got her moment in the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania 37, which I thought was great as well. She had a solid enough run, but even then, she didn't have the best year, as, like, her reign had its issues, and then she was jobbed out to Lynch in, like, 20-something seconds, and then fell down the card. She was feuding with Dewdrop, for God's sakes.
Right.
And then I think I honorable mentioned Raquel Gonzalez, who had a solid year.
She did.
She would be probably my closest second.
Yep.
AEW Female Wrestler of the Year.
And then we go to AEW's Female Wrestler of the Year. So we have 3 nominees written down. Brit Baker, Hikaru Shida, and Thunder Rosa. You could even throw in someone like Nyla Rose, and I would not bat an eye, but she's not winning.
No. I feel like we kind of had to scrounge a little for other nominees since the choice here, I think, is pretty obvious, and it's Brit Baker. She's very good in the ring to excellent at times, and she's just miles ahead of anyone else in terms of character and mic work. She's been the champion for a ton of time this year. She had a match of the year contender, probably my most entertaining or favorite match with Thunder Rosa. So this was super easy. It's Brit Baker. She is the AEW Female Wrestler of the Year for sure for me.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna have to agree with Brit Baker there. This is one of AEW's cases this year of making a genuine big star. The feud with Thunder Rosa early in the year, culminating that unsanctioned match, which was a match of the year contender. And then she moved on to the stellar match with Shida, which got her the much-deserved crowning moment, winning the women's title. And her reign has lasted the rest of the year. And in general, it's been pretty good. And she continued her top-notch character work. Next year, I think it'll set up another big title moment a la Hangman Page this year, because whoever beats her is
Thunder
a made
Rosa.
Star.
It'll be Thunder Rosa,
right.
I think. They're just
likely
building to that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'd be crazy not to, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
That's the money match for me.
Overall Female Wrestler of the Year.
Overall Female Wrestler of the Year.
Tough one.
I don't know.
Easy. Brit Baker wins easily. She had entertaining matches, mastered her character, cut awesome promos week in and week out. The amount she's improved in all areas since debuting in AEW, where I was not impressed at all. So her development's nothing short of incredible. Here's what I'm saying. If every woman in wrestling became a free agent and I were starting a company, I think I'm taking her as my centerpiece for that division, right? There may be others who are better in ring, like Io Shirai comes to mind. Not that Brit isn't good, but Brit's the complete package, right? At a level that I don't see anywhere else. And if I have to fit this in somewhere, honestly, second place to me, fairly distant, but second place nonetheless, ahead of anyone else in WWE, is Deonna Purrazzo, who I watch week in and week out on Impact Wrestling, right? She is fantastic. She was a champion in multiple companies. She's amazing in the ring.
I think she still got the AAA.
I think she does
title.
too. She's really excellent in the ring. Just a technician in there. She's always entertains me. She had an incredible year. It's just, sadly, she had that year for Impact, so nobody sees her, but she is fantastic. But it's Brit Baker, but I just wanted to give Deonna Purrazzo some love at some point on this episode.
Yeah. I obviously had to go with Brit Baker as well. Nothing WWE had comes close to her. She was just so much better than anything they had to offer. In and out of the ring, she remained entertaining, and her entire year was pretty good for her. Whereas the best WWE had, Bianca Belair, she didn't have an entirely good year. She hasn't ended the year the best, right? I think Brit Baker's year has been consistently good, right? I
agree.
I mean, maybe she's not quite as hot, but she's still very popular, and I think she's had a consistently good year.
WWE Male Wrestler of the Year.
So next we move to WWE's Male Wrestler of the Year, which is a joke category pretty much. Finn Balor is our first nominee. Then we got Johnny Gargano, begrudgingly, Karrion Kross, because
he achieved a lot. Yes,
he achieved a lot. Right,
many accomplishments.
Accomplishments are a part of this, so I can't simply go on.
It's fair.
People I enjoy. Big E, speaking of people I enjoy, Adam Cole, Roman Reigns, and Robert Lashley.
So for me, if this is one of those categories where if NXT were just included and we weren't expanding it to the whole roster, it would have been tough.
I was either, because Finn Balor was still good, but he wasn't around most of the year, right?
It's funny you say that, because I remember loving Finn Balor. It was like
then I was like, with Karrion Kross, I was like, I guess I gotta take Karrion Kross.
It was my favorite ever Finn Balor iteration, and so I went back and looked, honestly, and it stopped like halfway through the year, right?
Honestly, I would have taken even Pete Dunne, but no, because I like him. Like, I don't. It's like I'm glad because now it's just so easy.
Easy, right? Now that we've included the main roster, it makes it clear it's Roman Reigns. Obviously, for months.
I thought you were gonna say Reggie.
Yeah, he was the only entertaining thing on WWE TV for the most part.
Yeah.
And his combination with Heyman and the Usos has been really good.
He has since fired Heyman
for a really long time, right? I think it's kind of waning now. Like, it's kind of getting a bit. This needs to go somewhere, and we need to sort of generate some sort of realistic challenger for him. But I think it's undeniable that he is the WWE Male Wrestler of the Year, Roman Reigns.
Absolutely. I'm glad we're just going to NXT, because I now have a clear choice, which is Roman Reigns. His heel turn character shift last year was amazing, and for months in this year, he continued to work. It was the only thing on the main roster that could come remotely close to anything AEW had. Even then, it's still a pretty decent gap. Even though his act has grown a little bit still due to WWE's clear lack of endgame plan and inability to build credible babyface challengers, not named John Cena. But he did add the Usos into the fold, which added a bit to his stuff. And Heyman was good until the Lesnar feud, which they have revived for, let's see, the 10th time, if I had to guess. And then Reigns fired Heyman. But compared to anyone else in WWE, he had the best year of anyone. He remained Universal Champion for literally the entire year.
So what can you say?
So, I mean, that has to say something as well. If I had to say honorable mention to Bobby Lashley, who finally got a good year in, finally got some treatment like he deserved, and honorable mention to Big E too, who did pretty well for himself as well.
Couple of guys who've been waiting far too long to get that top spot in that company for sure.
Absolutely.
AEW Male Wrestler of the Year.
Next we move to AEW Male Wrestler of the Year, which, I mean, despite having good nominees, is also a joke category pretty much. The nominees we have are Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and Bryan Danielson. Although I think a fair argument would be to put in Miro as a nomination. He did pretty well too. But honestly, these are the three feasible options.
And I wanted to find a way, or was close to finding a way, to take Bryan Danielson. But part of the issue is most of his really good year, which was good in WWE, right? So he was
if his entire year was in AEW, it would be very close.
Right. So he had a good year in WWE and main evented Mania, and then for me, he just absolutely has killed it in every possible way since arriving in AEW. Like, I've always liked Bryan Danielson, and I've known he's a good wrestler and stuff like that, because I didn't really see him in ROH. That was a time where I was not watching ROH. So, but he's currently the best wrestler in the world for me right now. Outside the ring, the whole inside the ring, everything he's doing. But we're talking about all of 2021 in AEW. And so that has to be Kenny Omega, right? Although he's
had like one of the greatest years I've ever seen.
Right. And to be fair, his reign in several companies didn't quite come through the way I wanted it to.
But I think it was still there.
Right. He was still the champion of 3 companies at once. He had amazing matches all over the place. I personally like his character work. I know some people don't. And it turns out that now we learn he was working with some pretty significant injuries for quite a good chunk of the year. So his 2021 was phenomenal by anyone's standards.
Phenomenal.
And he is the AEW Male Wrestler of the Year. Kenneth Omega.
Absolutely. So yeah, honorable mention to Bryan Danielson, who just seemed to be putting out match of the year candidates on anytime he was there, having that absolute dream match against Kenny Omega. That's a rare time where I can say yes, that was a dream match. And like he said, he had our match of the year as well, but he wasn't in AEW enough to sustain, to justify his choice here. And even then, I just think Omega's accomplishments alone make him stand out as the best. There is no real other choice for me. He carried 3 world titles of 3 different major promotions simultaneously. While maybe a couple of those didn't quite live up, I think it still was there. Although I think Triple H reign has been going on for a while, and he didn't even lose that one.
Right.
Actually, he put on multiple matches of your candidates, like Bryan Danielson, despite working with injuries that may have him MIA for the next year. I mean, who knows,
Seems like
right?
he's been gone for a while, for sure.
He had one of the best years, if not the best year of his career, and one of the best years of any wrestler in recent memory that I've seen. He was untouchable for the vast majority of the year, maybe even the entire year, dare I say. Well, I guess majority of the year, because he's been gone for a bit. He's the clear best of the year for me. He was just on a different level, so yes,
His
Kenny
name's
Omega.
going to keep coming up here, I think.
Overall Male Wrestler of the Year.
Yep, because now we go to our overall Male Wrestler of the Year, which is encompassing AEW and WWE, and so I'm going to have to pick Reginald. I think he was very good this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Regardless of Roman Reigns' run in WWE, I don't think this was a close race. Easily choose Kenny Omega as my Male Wrestler of the Year from any of the companies we're including here.
I have to go with Kenny Omega. WWE's best answer to AEW was Roman Reigns, and even then, Omega's AEW run, while also holding the AAA and Impact main titles, blows Reigns out of the water tenfold. Omega is easily my choice for best anything, which leads us to our finale.
Overall Wrestler of the Year, male or female?
Yep.
Which is overall Wrestler of the Year.
Anticlimactic, anyone?
A bit anticlimactic, yes, but I'm gonna have to go with Kenny Omega. He had one of the best years in pro wrestling I've ever seen, or heard of. He stands out from literally everyone else as this year's best. I can't possibly think of anyone else,
no,
for good reason. It's him.
And
he was
even normally, I would say
best.
only if we were watching New Japan, because they'll do some, but that was a real down year for them. So. Because when you're talking about best years ever, you got to look at Omega in New Japan, Okada in New Japan, right? But this year, I don't think New Japan had offered much. Not that I kept up with it, but from what I've been hearing, it's a down year there. So for all of the reasons we have stated many times already, the overall Wrestler of the Year of any gender, of any company that we watch, is definitely Kenny Omega.
Yeah, he was just on another level. And yes, he is the best. He is the best of 3 things, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Kenny Omega was very good, and he's earned a big fat vacation.
That's right, he has. So that's going to bring us to the end of our Best of 2021 show. We will be back down here tomorrow for episode 76 of the main show, right, where we'll talk about some AEW Dynamite.
And then
gotta get to some NXT UK probably before then.
And the worst of year-end awards will be coming soon.
Yep, next couple days I think we'll find some time to get down here now that school's been postponed for you. You've got a bit of free time.
Yeah.
So we will get our worst of show coming out as well, and I think that's going to wrap it up for us. Yeah, nothing else to say. So thanks to anyone who tuned in to listen to us. We really do appreciate it. We'll see you back here tomorrow for episode 76, and until then, take care.